If I said the words Plex to you, what would that mean to you? Stream your own media? Stream on almost any device? Have access to 200 or more live TV channels? With free films as well? There's nothing that can possibly beat that, right? Right? Well, actually, there might just be a very good competitor to Plex. Let's find out right after this. So as we just browse their website, you can clearly see here, everything is kind of very, very colorful and nice. The website's really nice, but that's not what we're here for. The things that you get with Plex Pass, the power to download movies, download your own movies or movies from the server that you're streaming from. You can do that on Plex Pass. Multicolored themes. I've never really thought about doing anything like that, so I don't know why that's a paid feature. Advanced settings, unlock the power and get extra sharing restrictions to allow access to select premium features for shared users. So yes, we'll get into that in a bit. Streaming brain, a bit of a weird phrase there. Basically it's a upload bandwidth cap, customizable that is. And as we move on to hardware encoding, you can see that it basically will allow you to use the GPU that you've got in your Plex server or your machine, whatever you're using for the Plex server at that point in time, whether it be Mac OS, Linux, whatever you want to put it on, Synology, you can even run it on that as well. As long as you've got a hardware encoder or decoder of some kind in there, so that will probably be a GPU in most cases, then you can do it with that. But it does other things as well, and there's other things like, I don't know, TV recording, DVR recording, things for music. These are all things that really should be included in the free version, to be honest with you. Now, you can still stream music and videos, and obviously you get the free videos from Plex as well and all that kind of stuff, but that's not really what this video is about. We're not here to talk about Plex, really. We're here to talk about an alternative Plex. If I said to you the words, or the word, Jellyfin, would that mean anything to you? It may not. It didn't to me until about a week ago. I've tried it and it's really good, which is why I want to share it with you. It's completely free, it's open source. It includes pretty much not all of the features of Plex, most of the features of Plex. It can do hardware encoding for free, you don't have to pay for it. Whatever GPU you've got in there, as long as it supports it, it will transcode the video for you. So that is the main reason that we're looking at that today. It also streams music, TV, whatever you want to put on it, your own media. The only thing it doesn't do is it doesn't have a library of films and things like Plex does. But for me, that's not really an issue. When you have the likes of Netflix, Amazon Prime, whatever other streaming media, all those things, Disney Plus, anything like that, do you really need it on Plex as well? Or on your own personal home server? I don't think so. I don't think that's a really good thing. So it was originally designed to stream your own media, or Plex was originally designed to stream your own media. And that's kind of where Jellyfin comes back into play, is it's personal. It's for you, you can have it on a machine. So we're gonna put it on this machine here. This is the Dell 7010, and we've got a GPU in there, the GT710 as well, and you've probably seen that from previous videos. I won't get into that right now, but just go and check out the videos in the playlist after this one. We're going to be using it on this. It's a pretty mediocre machine, to be honest, but it's more than capable of doing some transcoding, and well, it's perfect for a home media server. The kind of movies and stuff that you put on your own server is entirely up to you. I can't be responsible for anything to do with that. We're just giving you the tools to be able to play that within your home and even on your own devices when you're out and about as well. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is go to jellyfin.org. Very, very simple to remember. The first thing it gives you or shows you there is the free software media system. That's what they call it, a software media system, not server. So you can see it in action. They've got like an online demo where you can go in and log in as a demo account and view some short films and stuff like that if you want to see how the interface looks like. We're just going to go straight to downloading. As you can see, Linux many different distros there as well. Windows, Mac OS, and a Docker. I have to say, Docker is really useful. I've got a Synology server where it's not actually got a native app for, but you can install Docker on a Synology or other NASes as well. And you can easily, and very, very easily I might add, install Jellyfish or Jellyfin on Docker. And it works really, really well. So of course, because we are on a Windows-based system, we are going to download the Windows version, but obviously your mileage may vary. Now, this is where you get to an old style download page, very, very text-like here, as you can see. Make sure you pick the right one, because you go to here, you pick downloads, and it also gives you other versions as well. So basically, it's always going to be, if you're just on a standard Windows system, the one at the very top there. This one here is the checksum. You don't need to download that, or if you do, it's to verify that this hasn't been changed in transit or on the server. So we're going to go for the Windows x64 version. Okay, so here we are. Click Next on the first screen. You can read all that if you like. I generally do not read those kind of things, but the more wise of you might want to actually read that kind of stuff. I am just going to click I agree. Now you've got two options. You can install it as a service, if it's just going to be the main thing on that machine and you want it to always run, or you can just do a basic install, which is what we're going to be doing today. And that will run whenever you're logged in, and you will have to run the software once you're logged in for it to work. So we are just going to do that one for today's purposes. You can choose to install it into another folder if you want to. We are just going to keep it as default, and we're going to keep the data folder as default too. Little recap of everything, where it's going to go and what kind of stuff. Just click install. It's very, very quick. And there we go, complete. Click close. So once the install is complete, nothing will actually appear or run or anything like that. You will have to manually start the server. So go to your desktop, click Jellyfin server. Now it may prompt you for firewall port access. You need to allow that internally and externally if you want to share that server with people outside, or you want to stream media from your local server when you're out and about. You will need to allow that, or the firewall is going to block it. Okay, so we've run Jellyfin, and you can see down here the little triangle icon there. This is Jellyfin, and you can right click on that and it does actually auto start. I said earlier it didn't auto start, so it does appear that it does auto start. So as long as that's ticked, it will automatically run. So we can go open Jellyfin. That'll open a web page directly to the Jellyfin setup. Now you can choose your language, as you can see there. So choose your language, English obviously for us. Choose your username. Now you don't have to set a password here. You can have completely non-passworded accounts set up for this, which is, I think, really good for those that just want to hop on, play a film, blah, blah, blah. That's great. If you want to share outside, then maybe it's worth setting passwords for those kind of accounts, or you're sharing with your friends. If you're just going to be using it internally and you've got nothing on there that you need to worry about, then no passwords is pretty cool. So we're going to go no password on that. This is going to be our main account. So now it's going to take us to the media library section. Okay, so going into folders, we need to paste the network share, which I have just tried. So let's do that. That will read all the films that we've got stored on there. You would think you put it in shared network folder, but apparently that doesn't seem to work. So we're going to OK that. Now we can choose some other library settings here. What the default languages of the films that we want to play. We can choose English, because then if you download a film that is in multiple languages, it can auto select it for you. So you don't have to go and change it every time you want to watch something, which is really good. Now you've got the option to prefer embedded titles over file names. So the file names are obviously the file names of the file, or you can choose the embedded name that's embedded within the film, if there is one. I normally leave that off, but you know, you can choose whatever you like. You can tell it to monitor the folder so that it actually will automatically add a new movie or whatever to your library, so you don't need to go and rescan that. I'll show you that a little bit later. And you've got the option here, automatically add to a collection. Now what it says here is when at least 2 films have the same collection name, they will be automatically added to a collection. So if you've got multiple Marvel films, for example, then it will add those to a collection so they're all within one place, which is really quite neat. You can choose where you want to download the movie database or details from, how often it refreshes from the internet. I normally do 30 days, so that's what I'm going to pick here. Metadata server, there's only one, so you can tick that or not. Now you can pick images for the movies that you've got downloaded from multiple sources here, and you can move them up and down if you want them in a certain order, if you prefer one over another one. It will check them all, so you don't really need to move them around, but you've got that option if you want to. Now here you might need a bit of extra space. It will save these images to a local folder on the drive so that it doesn't then have to go and check them every time you browse your movies. We're going to go save artwork to media, and it allows you to modify them if you want to. Now this bit is pretty cool. It has automatic chapter creation. What that will do, it will just take a small screenshot, however many, whatever the interval is, I'm not entirely sure, and that will allow you to skip to a certain part, and you can see what's on that particular part at that point in the film, which is really nice. So we are going to enable that. And there we go, that is that one added. Now you may notice it doesn't have one for TV shows. Well, that's fine, because honestly it doesn't really matter which one you choose. I mean, it does to a point, but if you're watching something, you're not listening to something, then movies or shows or something like that will be fine. I'll normally pick shows for TV shows. But as I said earlier, we can change the name of that to whatever you want it to be. So I'm going to change that to TV series. And again, we're going to add the folder where it says folder, the network path, and then choose all the settings as we did in the movies one. So that's it. That's the two that we're going to add today. We're going to click next on that. Choose the language and the country that you're currently in. For us, it is United Kingdom. Now, this is where you can configure remote access. You can change all this stuff from the dashboard later on, so don't worry if you pick the wrong option or you forget to untick it if you don't want to allow other people outside that you give access to. You can untick it if you want to. Today, we're going to untick it. And you can also enable automatic port mapping if your network setup allows for that to happen. Basically, what that will do is it will just open the port so that you can share it outside your network. And that's it, we're done. We're going to click finish. It's going to take us to the login page. Now, we created a login earlier, didn't we? So all we're going to do here is put in our username, no password because we didn't set a password. We're going to tell it to remember us, and we're going to click sign in. And there we go. So here we are. This is the main dashboard, and basically what it looks like. This is what you get. Now, there's not much on it because it's still scanning the folder. Now, I can show you the progress of that folder by going up to the hamburger in the top left, and then going to administration and go dashboard. And here you can see scan media library is 65.3% complete. Now that does take a little while, so you're better off going doing something else while you're letting this do a scan. I would probably wait until it's completed the full scan before you start doing anything else. So you've got the server set up. Well done, nice and easy, wasn't it? You've got your movies added. Now, while you're waiting for that scan to happen, there's a few other things that we can do, like set up users that you want to be able to access it. So let's go and do that now. Go to the users tab under server. You can see our account is already there. You can go click the plus button, type in the name of the user. So we're going to call it guest. We're not going to put a password on it. We are going to give them access to TV series only, or you can do enable all libraries, and that will take away the option of the libraries below. We're just going to do TV series, click save, and that user is pretty much created. There are other things that you can do on it as well. You can allow or not allow them to manage the server as well. You can enable or disable some features, so you can allow live TV access, recording management, that kind of thing. We'll get into that a little bit later. Allow playback I don't know why that would be an option, because why would you not want them to play back stuff? I don't really know, but that's an option if you want to stop that from happening. Or it's an account that's kind of maybe watching too much. I don't know, it depends on your bandwidth limitations of your internet connection or your local network. You can limit the internet side bitrate, or the megabits, yeah, the bitrate limit, so that they don't go over a certain quality. Obviously that will limit the quality that they can stream at as well, but you can set that here for the user, not for the whole server, and you can allow them to join groups. We'll get into groups a little bit later on. You can allow them to delete media off the server as well. So that's the kind of thing that you'd want, either you want an admin to do. So most users, if they're just going to watch stuff, they don't need access to that kind of thing. You only need maybe 1 or 2 admins. You can allow remote control of shared devices, allow remote control of other users, so you can pause playback, stop playback, fast forward, rewind, that kind of thing. You can obviously disable the user if you want to. Now, the other thing which I didn't mention earlier is that Plex allows you to download movies to whatever device that you're watching on, if it's capable of doing that. But that's behind a paywall. This one is not. You can actually download movies from wherever you are to whatever you're watching on, if that device allows it, which is pretty cool. Now you can hide the user from the login screen, so if you don't want someone to have to type in their name, maybe they're on a mobile device or a device where it's difficult to type things, you can disable or enable the viewer to click on it. We're going to do that for this one here. So we're going to untick where it says hide the user from login screens, because we want that to show. So we're going to save that. So all those options are saved. We are going to go back into that because there's something else I want to show you. Parental controls. This is really good if you've got films on there and you've got children and there's stuff on there that you shouldn't watch. So basically you can set a rating. U, PG, 12, 12A, 15, 18 or R18. Now, depending on the age of the child will determine what rating that you set here. So we're going to set PG on this one, and you can even limit the type of things that they can watch, as well as the age restriction, which is really, really good. You can also set a schedule, so they can't watch it when they're supposed to be doing homework, that kind of thing. That's really, really good. We're going to leave that unlimited for now, but you've got that option for a start time and end time, day of the week, or weekdays or weekends, even every day. There's a lot of options. Also, if you tag your media then with meta tags, then you can block certain movies from even showing, despite what the other settings are on. This will not allow them to be seen, which is really neat. And of course, you've got the password option there if you want to allow them to set a password, or you want to give them a password once the account is set up and stuff like that. So that's quite a nice option as well. Now, it's still under the server tab there. You've got the libraries option there, so you can force a scan if it hasn't automatically added the film or whatever the media is. You can force that yourself if you want to. We've still got a little way to go on that. Now, playback options is where we can choose the hardware encoding. At the moment, it's defaulting to software encoding, which it will do, because it doesn't know what graphics card or hardware encoding device that you've got in there. So we're going to have to tell it to do that. But you've got the option of, as you can see here, AMD, NVENC encoding, Intel QuickSync, which is nice to see, Video Acceleration API, Apple Video Toolbox, and Video for Linux 2. Those are the options you can pick. Today we're going to try NVIDIA NVENC, because we do have a NVIDIA GT 710 in there. And there is no need, there are some extra hardware requirements, configuration options, but I found that for the most part, it just works. You don't need to do anything. You can choose the type of encoding or decoding, in this case, you want to do. Obviously, this GT 710 does not support HEVC, so we're going to untick that completely. But if you want to tick any one of those that it does support, that your particular graphics card does support, then obviously you have to tick those yourself. It doesn't know what you want to encode. You might not want to encode everything on the GPU. It depends on your CPU. As we move down, you've got enable the encoder, so you need to make sure that is actually enabled. Even though you've selected that, that doesn't mean it's actually enabled. You have to go down here and make sure this is ticked. It normally is by default, this one here. So make sure that's ticked before you click save. Now you can allow encoding in HEVC, but obviously this GPU doesn't do it. So we're going to leave that off because it's not a very capable CPU in here. So we'll just leave that off for the moment. So as we scroll down, you can see a lot of tone mapping options there, different ranges for different type of devices. Not entirely sure on these, so you will have to read the documentation, and with that, the documentation is actually really, really good for a open source software. It's very, very detailed, and it will take you through step by step the things that you need to do. So that is a really good start. As we've scrolled down to the bottom of the hardware encoding page there, or the playback page, you get a warning saying enabling hardware acceleration may cause instability in some environments. Ensure your operating system and video drivers are fully up to date. They are. If you have any difficulty playing video after enabling this, then basically turn it off is what it's saying. So yeah, any problems, turn it off basically. So that's now enabled, so that doesn't need a restart. You don't need to restart the server or anything. That just becomes instantly active, and that will start using the GPU. Okay, still in the admin dashboard here, under devices, you can see any devices that are currently connected to your server. Obviously, there's only the one that we're using now, but there will become more as we show this on other devices. And it shows you all the activity here. It's basically like a event log. It shows everything that's going on. So for those of you that don't have a device that has a web browser on it, or has a native app for Jellyfin, then you can enable DLNA, which is kind of an old school sharing server. So it disables that by default because they kind of want you to use their native apps or their browser. But you can turn that on, and then that will allow you to browse it in Windows Media Player, for example, or any other DLNA compatible client. Moving on down, we've got live TV here. Now, I did say earlier that this doesn't do live TV streaming. Well, it doesn't. You do need, if you want to use this feature, you will need a tuner device. Now, we don't have a tuner device in there, but it does have a few options there. So that will need all the cabling and the card itself, the hardware card, to be able to do that. And then you can actually record as well. You can record live TV. I don't know many people that use that now, but if that's the kind of thing that you like to do, you've got the option to add a tuner card to it if you want to. And then you've got your network settings if you want to change the port that you're running on. If you don't want to use the default port, you can enable HTTPS if you want a more secure connection, especially if you're sharing it outside your local network. I would highly suggest you enable HTTPS. If you do that though, you will need a certificate. Now, I can't take you through the setup for that, but there are plenty of guides out there and on the Jellyfin website that will help you if you want to do that. And you've got some other advanced features down the bottom here. You've got API keys, logs, notifications. You can turn them on and off if you want those enabled. Plugins, most of those are already enabled. So we've got TMDB is not enabled. Studio images, because we didn't select any images folders for our media library. OMDB is active because we've got movies and TV shows in there. Music Brains isn't because we didn't add any music, but you can if you want to. And then AudioDB is enabled. And then you've got scheduled tasks here, so you can, there are various things. You can see there it's running the scan media library, 79.7% so far. But all of these maintenance tasks you can run now, or you can schedule them to run at the interval that you pick. Most of them will run automatically, so you don't even need to go in there, but it's got the option if you want to. Now, while it's still scanning the library, you can actually change the server name. So this is the name of the server. This is what will show up on other devices and things like that. So we are just going to call it WD Tech Media, spell media correctly, media server. Something simple. You can call it what you like. What language, where your cache folder is, where your metadata folder is. If you want to enable quick connect, I've not actually used that, but I think that's just typing in a code or something to gain access to it. And a couple of other things there. You can set your own disclaimer if you're using this to share with other people, if you want that kind of thing on it. The kind of thing we're going to be using it for, we don't need that, so that's not a problem. And then any custom CSS code to change the layout of how it looks for the people watching. And there's also a splash screen as well. We're going to keep that off Okay, so rather than wait for our media to populate, it's taken quite a long time. I did mention that earlier, it does take a long time, and we did tell it to do chapters as well, so that's probably why. We've gone over to the demo, which you can do yourself if you want to see it in action, or you just watch this video, you'll see it. Now this is the demo.jellyfin.org, and you can see some of the free movies. They're not really movies, they're shorts really, I would call them. And it just shows you what it actually looks like, kind of like Plex in a way. Let's go into movies, and we've got a couple of, let's just play these. Now this is streaming from the internet obviously, so not quite like your local server would stream, but as you can see, streaming straight away. That was really, really quick. This is only 1080p. There aren't any 4K videos on the demo one. And of course, because it's a video, you can just double click on it and make it full screen. Really, really neat. That's actually good quality. I really like that. So looking at a real movie rather than one of the demo ones, we've actually got the options here before we even start the movie to pick what type of audio we want, which is really nice. We've got Dolby Digital or DTS 5.1. You can select that, and you can choose if it's got multiple subtitles. You can choose the subtitle you want, or you can just turn it off. And it tells you the quality of the video, what codec it's using, and whether it's HDR or SDR. In this case, it's SDR. And yeah, that's it. And you just click play, and that will play the movie. And there we go, it's playing the movie. How cool is that? Let's say you started a movie, you want to move to another device, or you want to watch it on a bigger TV. Well, you can do that too, and you can carry on from where you were. So what you need to do is go to the top right corner, go to the sharing icon, which is commonly known as cast to device these days. Click on that. It will show you any devices that you can cast to, including Google Cast, and any other devices that you're currently signed into the server with. And then you can click on it, and it will change it over to that device, and then you can go to that device and watch it on it. So if you want to watch it, say you start a film on your computer and you think, I don't want to sit here anymore, I want to go and chill out on the sofa or whatever, you can do that. You can just send it to the TV as long as you're logged in on that device, whether it be Xbox, phone, whatever it is, you can do that. So obviously the next step is to show you it working. So what we've got is we've got an iOS phone, we've got 2 Android phones, and then obviously we've got the server sat here on the old Dell 7010. So let's try and show you the best we can. We'll try and bring it up to the camera if we can. Now we've got the same video playing on all 3, just at different positions. So there's one playing, and then on the dashboard you can actually see what status this particular device is on. So that is this one here, and it will show you there exactly where it is. Anyway, that's one device, so we're going to bring up the next one now. If I can just do this one-handed, this is going to be a bit tricky. Right, so here's the other one, both at different positions, and I'm going to get Emma to bring in the third one. Hopefully you can see all 3 in the video now, and that's all 3 playing at the same time, just different positions. We've got the middle one there just doing the intro, top one is quite far into it actually, and then the bottom one I have no idea. You've got me 3 times, well 4 including now, all playing on mobile devices. Now you can, if you want, okay, we can pause that now. You don't want to hear me 4 times, do you? You can actually play this on the Xbox as well, but you can either do it through the browser, or you can install an app from the Microsoft Store called, well, Jellyfin, which is quite apt. What that basically is just, in its current form, it is just a wrapper for a browser. So what it actually does is it loads up the browser without the address bar at the very top. So you get a kind of like that, really, without the address bar at the top, like that. Very, very Plex-like. You probably won't really see it on there, but I did show you earlier in the on-screen footage. And then you can just use the controls, your normal controls, to move the cursor around. You can't use the D-pad or anything like that to like do that kind of thing. You have to use the controller, and it's got like a little pointer that you can move around, similar to what you would be doing with your mouse. So it's not too difficult. It is a bit clunky, but that's what they've got at the minute. So, have you seen enough to make you want to switch from Plex to Jellyfin. Well, I think for us, yeah, I think we've seen enough. We don't need to stream the 200 channels that they give you for free on there. Like I said earlier, we've got Netflix and all those other streaming services and normal TV. It can do hardware encoding for free. We don't have to pay for it, which is great. It does all the things that Plex should be doing for free, but Jellyfin does it better. I think I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to swap over to Plex. I'm not going to completely get rid of Plex. It will still be there in the background as a backup, but I'm going to switch over to Jellyfin permanently, as we can now have it on all the devices without paying for it. That's one thing I forgot to mention. You can install the Plex app on your mobile device, but if you want to play anything longer than 30 seconds, I think it's 30 seconds, you have to pay for the app. And I think on iOS you have to actually pay for the app before you even download it. On Android you can download it, but you're limited to playback. So that is a plus as well. The app we had a bit of trouble with. We had to actually get an access point in the room. You can't see it, but it's up there. We had very weak signal here where we're filming this video right now. And 2 bars should have been enough. Normally that would have been fine, but for some reason it just wouldn't cope with it. We had to get another access point and put out here where we are now. And as you saw just then, it's perfectly fine and plays back on multiple devices. The CPU, I didn't show you, but the CPU was about 80% during that 3 device test there that we did. And the GT710 was at 100%. It was maxed out. So, and these were all 1080p H.264 encoded videos. Now, if you were gonna be streaming 4K HEVC type content, then I would definitely change the GT710. It's gonna push it to the limit. You might be able to do 1 stream on that maybe. If you're gonna stream it to the TV, then that might be fine. But the GT710 doesn't actually do HEVC encoding anyway, so you would definitely want at least a 1050 or 1050 Ti or something around that mark there. I think that's the minimum you can use for HEVC encoding or decoding. So I think that's going to do it for us. I think that was it. It was just a short little overview kind of how Jellyfin installs, how quick it was to install, how easy it is to show it working on your mobile devices. It's all free, it's open source. If you wanted to go in and modify the files for this, you can absolutely do that. There are some caveats to that, and it's all on their website if you want to go and check that out. It will be in the link in the video description down below. I'm impressed. I really like it. I think that's going to do it for us. We'll catch you in the next video.